What's up, fam? Brandon Walker, more Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country. So happy to be back with you. Gertie is back on the road, Terp. Gertie is back on the road. She was down for a second, just a wiring problem. That's all it was, to the alternator. She's fine. She's back on the road. We're back in the SEC Country studios here in beautiful Atlanta, Georgia. So happy to be here. So happy to be a part of the Mississippi State family. Terp, you're part of the Mississippi State family, aren't you?
Yes. I guess kind of.
Yes,
by association.
Yes, you're our embarrassing cousin that we don't show anybody. You don't get invited straight to the family reunion, but you'll get a phone call from everybody else at the family reunion. That's how you are related to us. Let's bring everybody in. Let's see how many people we got here today. Up to 45 people. All right, Gertie's back. What's up, fam? Hello, David Lay. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of this. Montgomery, Alabama, checking in this morning. I got to get used to it. I was on my couch yesterday. It was nice. It was nice. You did a good job from back here in the SEC Country Studios.
Thank you.
So did you, Hannah. Landshark, you did great. It all went perfectly, and I was able to take a nap directly after the show. So it worked out for everybody. All right, who we got here? Hernando, Mississippi is in here for the roll call. Hello, Bobby Lofter. I'm sorry. It looks like Laughter, and I love that name. Heidelberg, Mississippi is in the house. Hail State. Hail State from Seymour, Indiana. Good to have Seymour, Indiana here. Ocean Springs is here. So good to have everybody. Good to have Grenada, Mississippi. Hello, Stacy Joyner. David. Yes, there's gas in the car, David. It wasn't a gas problem. It was an issue with the alternator. And we got it fixed. Cost me $60. Wasn't that bad?
Why is your car named Gertie?
I don't know. It's just named Gertie. Do you not name your cars?
I have a car name.
What's your name? What's your car's name?
Exhibit X for short. He's out there in the parking lot if you want to hang out with him.
Oh, my God. You named your car Exhibit from Pimp My Ride?
Just rapper. Exhibit. Yep.
He's also from Pimp My Ride.
Yes, he is, but mainly a rapper.
His car's named Exhibit.
X.
Are you just name all your cars after rappers?
I only have one car.
Do you have Run DMC? Like if you had an older model car, would it be Run DMC?
Probably something along those lines. Yeah.
Tone Loc?
Maybe.
MC Hammer?
Keep going.
Hail State from Ringgold, Georgia. Columbus, Mississippi. Mendenhall, Mississippi. Winslow, Arizona. This guy's hanging on the corner. I don't believe you're actually in Winslow, Arizona. I don't believe you're standing on the corner in Winslow, Arizona. I just don't. Shannon, Mississippi. Hello, Chad Mask. Amory, Mississippi. Leland is here. Marietta, Georgia, not very far from where we sit. Have to drive through there every day. I-75 in Marietta, Georgia is what hell looks like. That is what hell looks like. If you ever wonder, do I want to go to hell? Well, go to I-75 in Marietta, Georgia, and you'll know that no, you do not want to go. Hail State from Madison, Mississippi. Nashville, Tennessee. Petal is here. Carlton Sims. Pensacola, Florida down there in Escambia County. Tim Franks drives a truck, so he is familiar with the hell that is Marietta, Georgia. Chicago is here. Hail State. Stark Vegas. Pistolville, Mississippi, a.k.a. Guntown. That's where Chad Bumpus' family lives. Shout out to Chad's mom. Brandon, Mississippi. Hello, Chad Edwards. Today's show, we're going to have Steve Robertson on the show to talk recruiting. We'll talk about Joe Moorhead's potential staff here at Mississippi State, what the defensive coordinator position might look like. I don't have any answers for you. I will ask Steve if he has any ideas. We'll also talk about Tennessee a little bit and how we'll just laugh at Tennessee. And how sure of themselves they were that they were a better program than Mississippi State. How sure of themselves they were that they could get Dan Mullen or anybody they wanted. And today's top five, the top five Mississippi State basketball wins of my lifetime. We'll have all of that, and we'll have Steve Robertson. We'll have him at straight up 11 o'clock. So we'll do all of that today. Going to have a good show. Going to have fun. How many we got? 143 people. Pretty good little audience for a Thursday. You know, Thursday's generally a slow day. It's tough to get audience on Thursday.
Yeah.
Monday, they're fired up. Tuesday, they're less fired up. And by Thursday, they don't give a damn. Just don't care anymore. Hopefully, and that's why we don't do Fridays.
Makes sense.
Well, Friday, they really don't care. And by Friday, I don't care either.
Yeah,
so,
same.
What?
Said same.
You're fired. Oxford, Mississippi. It does. Okay, Boyd Barnett. I know it looks blue on the screen. It's not blue though. It like show the logo on the screen. Like put the logo on the screen.
We're putting it up now.
Yeah,
you can see that it's clearly not.
Put the logo
blue
on the screen. See,
Gray.
it is clearly not blue, and I guess it's the lighting or something. It's not blue in here either. It just looks like that on screen, so we'll figure that out. All right. I don't know why I went through that much trouble to answer that question, but it apparently bothered me. Thank you, Boyd Barnett, for bringing that up. Hail State from St. Louis. It is 11:50. It means it's 10 minutes until we get Steve Robertson. We'll get right into it. And Terp, I'm ready when you are.
All right.
The More Cowbell Show, brought to you by SEC Country. And now, your host of the More Cowbell Show, Brandon Walker.
That's me, Brandon Walker. More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country, coming to you from the SEC Country studios here in beautiful Atlanta, Georgia. Nice day outside. It's 45 degrees and completely gray. Hey, I was going to have Matt Wyatt on the show today. Before I get into anything, I was going to have Matt Wyatt on the show, quarterback from Mississippi State, friend of the program. And I texted him about 15 minutes before, because that's how much notice I give my guests. I say, hey, come on the show today. And he says, I can't. I say, why not? He says, I'm fishing. It is 45 degrees outside. There's no sunlight, nothing. And I say, Matt, it's 45 degrees. It's 10 o'clock in the morning. Why are you fishing? And he says, because fish are cold-blooded. That's what it's like to try to book a show in Mississippi. Matt Wyatt is bass fishing. So, we got a better guest anyway. I'm just kidding. I don't know. I don't rank my guest. Steve Robertson will be on the show. Steve Robertson of Scout.com will be on the show to talk recruiting. We'll talk about Marcus Murphy. We'll talk about Jalen Maiden. We'll talk about all of Mississippi State's commits, who might become a Mississippi State commit, who might become a Mississippi State decommit. We'll talk about all of that with Steve Robertson today on the show. He'll be along in about 7 minutes. So he'll be along in 7 minutes. We'll talk about Tennessee. Tennessee. Oh, you guys are precious. That is hilarious. Tennessee fans. I should have brought the Tennessee helmet out here and just turned it upside down or something and just thrown my trash in it, because that's basically what they've done over the last couple of months. Tennessee, a hilarious coaching search. It came to a hilarious end today. We'll talk about that a little bit. My top five today. Today's top five. The top five Mississippi State basketball wins of my lifetime. That'll be fun. I've got that list together for you. We'll do that at the end of the show. And we'll also talk about Joe Moorhead's coaching staff, what it might look like. Again, we'll have Steve Robertson in about 6 minutes now. We'll have him to talk about recruiting. Before I get into recruiting, before I get into all of that stuff, I do want to talk about Joe Moorhead and his coaching staff. Obviously, right now, the coaching staff is not complete. We don't know who's going to be on the coaching staff. And mainly, we don't know who's going to be the defensive coordinator. That is the big question. A lot of fans are getting restless. It's only been a week since the man was introduced. Let's give him time to work. I don't know who the defensive coordinator is going to be. If you think I'm about to give you a scoop, if you think I'm about to give you some idea, I have no idea who the defensive coordinator is going to be. All I want to say is, regardless of who it is, I do feel like we were on a tremendous trajectory with Todd Grantham. Now, Todd Grantham has gone to Florida. He is gone with Dan Mullen to coach one more year as his defensive coordinator before he gets tired of it. Right now, though, we've got a team getting ready for a bowl game without a defensive coordinator. We got a team getting ready for a season next year without a defensive coordinator. Now, that position will get filled. But I really hope that the 3-4 that Grantham perfected, that Peter Sirmon installed, well, I don't know if you can give Peter Sirmon any credit, but Peter Sirmon ran a 3-4, supposedly. That was the myth. That was the rumor anyway. And Todd Grantham ran a 3-4 well at Mississippi State. He used Jeffrey Simmons well. He moved Montez Sweat all over the place. Montez Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons both became first-team All-SEC guys under Todd Grantham this year. There is a wealth of talent on that defense. If Sweat comes back, Jeffrey Simmons will be back. Leo Lewis will be back. Willie Gay will be hell on wheels the next couple of years. Jamal Peters will be a senior. You're adding in Brian Cole. You're adding in Chauncey Rivers. there is going to be a ridiculous amount of talent on the 2018 defense for Mississippi State. I said all that to say this. I don't know who Joe Moorhead's going to hire. If he can hire a guy who's got the same mentality as Todd Grantham, if he can hire a 3-4 guy, somebody who can continue, aggressively pursuing guys with the quarterback at the quarterback position, aggressively going after the quarterback with linebackers, with Jeffrey Simmons, with Montez Sweat, then I think that's best case scenario. I'd default to Joe Moorhead. He's the coach. Whatever he decides, I think that's what we roll with. We trusted John Cohen to hire Joe Moorhead. I trust Joe Moorhead to make this hire. It's definitely a hire that some fans are getting a little antsy with. They want it to go ahead and happen. They want to go ahead and see it done. You got a couple of recruiting visits, a couple of recruiting weekends coming up this weekend and next. You'd like to have your full staff in place. I don't know if defensive coordinator is going to Turp, please look at me. I don't know if defensive coordinator is going to be something that comes up over the next day or two. I don't know if it'll be scooped tonight. I don't know if it'll break tomorrow. I don't know when it's going to break. I do know it's a very important hire, and it's one that Joe Moorhead will be entrusted with. Everything Joe Moorhead has done so far, I think, has passed the smell test for me. Whether it's the way he's showing energy on the recruiting trail. Did you see the picture of him with Marcus Murphy, the 4-star out of West Point yesterday? Apparently Marcus Murphy's mom had to work during the visit, so Joe Moorhead just went up to Walmart where Marcus Murphy's mom works, and they took the picture up there. So I really like all the energy I'm seeing from Joe Moorhead so far. So far, so good for Joe, and I think the defensive coordinator hire will be just like that. Now, recruiting, though, over the next couple of weeks will be vitally important, and recruiting is something that my next guest, my only guest, knows. Steve Robertson of Scout.com is a guy who has covered recruiting in this state for a long, long time. He's done it better than anybody. And Steve Robertson, in addition to his Ole Miss book and to covering that investigation better than anybody, or I guess he was the only one that really cared to cover it, he has done recruiting, and that's why I'm bringing Steve Robertson on the show to talk about today. Steve, welcome to the show.
Brandon, so happy to be with you again.
Are you really that happy?
Thrilled. I mean, we don't get to see each other that often. This is the only time I ever hear from you is when you need me to be on your show.
Are you going to Jacksonville?
I am.
Oh, we'll have dinner then. We'll have dinner in Jacksonville because I'm going.
Well, see, that's one of the things that I've noticed about the whole Jacksonville. A lot of the people that are complaining about Mississippi State going to the Gator Bowl 3 times in 8 years are people that didn't go to the Gator Bowl 2 of the times in 8 years. That they didn't go to the game, but yet they're going to complain about us going back to the game.
Are you accusing me of not going to the first 2 games?
I don't know anything about your travel plans or your history. I'm just telling you, I went both times, and other than the outcome of the ball game against Northwestern, I've had great times both times when I've gone to Jacksonville, and I look forward to going again.
I've been a Mississippi State fan for a long time. I'm not in a position to complain about Jacksonville. And also, Jacksonville is one of my favorite cities, so I look forward to it. Anyway, we didn't come here to talk about Jacksonville today. We came to talk about recruiting, and you are an expert on that. We are coming down the stretch of recruiting. Joe Moorhead has hit the ground running, it looks like to me. What do you think about the first week of Joe Moorhead when it comes to recruiting in the state of Mississippi?
Well, I think he's done a good job, but I think one of the first things you got to do as a new guy is go in and shake hands and kind of rally the troops, and that's what we're seeing happening. And, we get a hold of these kids as soon as we can, and to a man, they're all saying how personable he is, how down to earth, how easy it is to talk to him, and that they're very, very happy with what they've learned about the coach so far, and they're excited to get in on campus for the official visits. But what happens is these young men have this group text, and they're in contact with each other. And so the in-state guys that have had an opportunity to meet him are now telling other guys, hey, guys, this is going to be okay. And I think that's probably the message more so than anything else that needs to be kind of distributed out.
I would like to see some screenshots from that group text, please. Can you get on that for me?
I wish I could. We could write a whole article about that. We could have a Netflix series probably about all that.
I think we should show screenshots of the group text that you and I are involved in. That would be maybe even more interesting than the recruiting group text.
Well, you'd probably have to change some names to protect the guilty.
Yeah, no doubt about that. The early signing period is something that really nobody still seems to understand how it's going to affect things, what it's going to really change. Let me ask you, how's the early signing period going to change recruiting in the next couple of weeks?
Well, other than the fact that it's an absolutely rotten idea, that we're already seeing a lot of unintended consequences and, all this coaching carousel stuff, I'll rest on my previous objections to the early signing period. But one of the things that I think is kind of lost in all of this is everybody can't sign in December. A school can't sign every player that is perhaps committed or has an interest in signing early. You can only sign up to what you have available in the annual 25 and the overall 85 limit. You can't go out and sign, 30 players if you've already used your 25 scholarships. And so what has to be of the utmost importance is you have to go out and sign the guys that are going to enroll in January, whether it be your junior college transfer, your early enrollments. And then if you've got spots left, then you can fill those with some other guys.
Well, I don't understand a word you just said, but let me ask you about a guy like Jalen Maiden, 4-star quarterback commit. I'm going to go ahead and tell you I'm a fan, all right? You cover these guys. You talk to them. I don't. I'm just a fan. I react like a fan does. And when Dan Mullen went to Florida, I immediately got scared that we'd lose Jalen Maiden. But everything I've heard and read from you and other guys is that Jalen Maiden, when Dan Mullen came to him, Jalen Maiden told him to go kick rocks, that he is committed to Mississippi State. And this really makes me like this Jalen Maiden more and more. I always liked him. He's a 4-star quarterback. Talk about Jalen Maiden a little bit for a second and what it means to keep him in this class.
Well, number one, he's a great leader, and I think that he's the guy that has, been involved with the other recruits and kind of kept everybody locked in. I think people are excited about playing with him. When he was Big Dog Camp, he was kind of doing the social circuit while he was there and getting to know everybody and trading phone numbers and that sort of stuff. And so that's kind of what you want to see in your quarterback. You want to see him as a guy that brings everybody together. That appears to kind of be what he's done. And even late in this process, he's had an opportunity to visit with MSU coaches. He's come out, as you said, and declined Florida's offer, which has really curried a lot of favor with Mississippi State fans. They already loved him, but for them to, as you said so eloquently, told Dan Mullen to, quote, kick rocks, it just makes the Bulldogs feel that much better about his commitment and about his leadership moving forward. But yeah, he's the guy. He's a difference maker. He is the next guy. You look at Keaton Thompson, as excited as people are about him. Jalen's cut from that same cloth, and I think that he's going to come in after an unbelievable high school career there in Texas and do a good job for the Bulldogs. And I think with Joe understanding how to utilize the vertical passing game, and this is not necessarily a criticism of Dan Mullen, but even when he was in Florida, they didn't do a lot of vertical stuff. They didn't try to go outside the numbers a whole lot. They would try to get guys in space and get Percy Harvin was a guy that was explosive, so you had to find a way to kind of get him involved. But I think Joe will be able to take these passers and kind of utilize them more in the downfield passing game, which I think will bring a new dynamic to the Mississippi State offense.
Marcus Murphy is the guy that I think is the best recruit in the class, particularly as far as in-state guys go. Now, Jalen Maiden's outstanding too, and there are others. I'm not trying to compare anybody, but Marcus Murphy to me is one of the best recruits we got. He's a 4-star out of West Point, Point City. I got a text the other night. He has been informed by Moorhead he's going to be playing offense. He needs to get on the jugs machine and start catching the football and get ready because that's where he's going to be in college. How do you react to that news? I think it's fantastic news, Steve.
I think Marcus Murphy can play whatever he wants to play. I agree with you. I believe he is the top overall prospect in the 2018 in-state signing class, regardless of which school they're going to. Number 2 most of the year, but I think the run that he made down the stretch this postseason, I think it's really kind of separated and showed that he's the guy that makes everybody around him better. I always felt like that he would be an NFL safety, but I always kind of felt like, with as explosive as this guy is with the ball in his hands, why would you not give him a chance to play offense first? And so I'm glad to hear that's going to happen. I think that is a smart move, and State really is kind of wide receiver deprived right now due to some poor recruiting efforts over the course of the last few years, some recruiting misses and some injuries. And so when you get a guy like him that can take it the distance at any point, I think you've got to give him an opportunity to cut his college teeth on offense.
A couple of guys in Louisiana at Keaton Thompson's old high school, Landry Walker High School down in New Orleans. I think their names are Devontae Jason and Corione Harris. I don't really know how to say that first name. There are a couple of 4-star guys. One's a wide receiver, one's a cornerback. Things seem to be trending in the right direction for those guys in Mississippi State. What are you hearing there?
Yeah, I feel like State's in a good position. They're going to both take official business to Mississippi State, and it's pretty much let it be known that they're going to decide between Kansas, their current school, and Mississippi State, perhaps their most relentless pursuer. I think that's big for State because there were a lot of times, early on that we felt like that LSU would kind of cycle back around to Devontae Jason. They have in certain respects. Ed Orgeron takes a helicopter and goes see them play, and then they're taking my bring him in for a visit. Then they change the visit. So they've been kind of hot and cold with him. But he's a guy that's a true X receiver and could be a real difference maker, and I would expect to see him on the field next year. And same thing with Corian Harris. I think that he's a guy, cause you can play some corner as a freshman if you've got the physicality to handle it, and he does. So I think that he's the guy, both of them, should they both sign in with State, would have an opportunity to come in and compete right away for playing time, at least an opportunity to be on the two deep as we head into the fall.
You already kind of mentioned this, but this was going to be one of my questions. Wide receiver has been a problem at Mississippi State. It was a problem this year. You had some guys get hurt. That was the biggest problem. You had too many guys get hurt at wide receiver. But also you didn't really have any guys ready-made to step in and be that guy. Now, it's a position that has been down a little bit, and I look at the recruiting class, especially if Marcus Murphy all of a sudden plays offense. Now you're talking about bringing in Malik Heath, who's a 4-star, Stephen Guidry, who's a 4-star JUCO guy, Marcus Murphy, who's a 4-star, who could be in the slot, and possibly Devontae Jason, a 4-star out of Louisiana. Now all of a sudden you're talking about one of the best receiving classes you've ever brought in at Mississippi State. Talk about that recruiting, what could happen there with that wide receiver class.
I don't think there's any question. I mean, and that's a personnel group that's in need of an influx of talent. And that, again, that's not to be critical of the guys that are there, but they didn't sign themselves. I mean, some of those guys are guys that battle through injuries, and you look at a guy like Jesse Jackson. It's taken him a couple of years to get it together, but down the stretch, he made some huge catches from Mississippi State. He's just not that explosive guy that's going to blow the top off the defense. He's a guy that needs to build to kind of work some as a possession receiver. But when you bring in guys like Stephen Guidry and Malik Heath and Marcus Murphy, these are guys that DBs are going to have a tough time staying with. The vertical passing game will be a different element. Number one, because of the fact you're going to actually call the play and take a shot down the field. But number two, you've got guys that can run those routes, to run those deeper routes and really attack the deep third. That hadn't really happened at Mississippi State in a couple of years. So when you get those guys, especially the guys that come in early and have an opportunity to learn the offense and be ready to go, and really that's the thing I think for the spring. Think about these guys that are coming in. They're all going to learn at the same time. Nobody's going to be that much farther ahead except for the fact they've been in a college weight room for a couple of years. And so these guys, I think, come in with a clean slate with Joe, and I think Joe's going to look to win next year and to build for the future. So I expect to see some of these young guys have an opportunity to catch football this fall.
I know you're a busy guy. Two more questions, though. Give me your favorite under-the-radar guy in this recruiting class, or maybe somebody who's not in this recruiting class who's an under-the-radar guy that you like the most.
Well, I don't know as far as targets go if there's anybody left out there that I would expect to be in the class that would be, a bit of a surprise. But I really like Damian Webb a lot out of Alabama. South Beauregard High School.
Running back.
He's a guy that, he's a little bit different than anybody we have. But the one guy that I think is a true sleeper, a guy that a lot of people will probably know his name over the course of the next couple of years is Darius Bishop. Out of Ashdown, Arkansas. Dan Mullen and Florida, of course, offered him yesterday. I'm surprised it took him as long as it did. But this is a guy who is a true SEC guy. He is a guy that can come in and cover. He's working back from an ankle injury, but I think that he will eventually be a starter at Mississippi State and possibly be a 3-year type starter. I think he has that kind of ability.
2019, we've talked about it a lot. It has a chance to be one of the best classes in the state of Mississippi in a long, long time as far as high school talent. Joe Moorhead just got here, so maybe it's too premature to judge, but based on what you've seen, do you think he's off to a good start in 2019?
Well, I do think it's too early to tell. They hadn't been able to do a whole lot of junior recruiting. He's been on the job a week so far, and so I think it's a little premature. But I expect, because of the fact that State's going to have an exciting offense, that they're going to be okay. But you haven't had an opportunity to showcase that yet, and so there's going to be some questions. And I think in some respects, it's going to allow Ole Miss to make up a little bit of ground right there because of the fact State's in transition too. Now, State's not going to be saddled with this thing of probation, but at the same time, there's not this continuity. So you don't know the offense. You don't know all the coaches. And so I think in that respect, it's probably going to give State's going to have to work a lot harder early in 2019 than they would have had Dan Mullen stayed on, just because of the fact that I felt like they were leaps and bounds ahead of everybody with the in-state class. But I do think because of the fact that so many guys from Mississippi in this 2018 class have relationships with 2019 guys. That's going to help because you want to go play with guys that you know, guys you've grown up playing against, and then guys you've seen in the Dandy Dozen and that sort of stuff. So I think that's going to help in a major respect, not to mention the fact that I believe Mississippi State's going to win a lot of football games over the next couple of years.
All right, here's your chance. Make your one last Christmas push for Flim Flam the book.
Well, I'm so glad you asked. And we're actually running a Christmas special where you can get it for $19.95, so it's under $20, and you can still get a personalized copy by going to flimflamthebook.com, and you can order that. And they bring me books once a week, and I sign them and personalize them and send them back out. But every Mississippi State fan needs this book. Every college football fan needs this book. And every smart aleck State fan knows he wants to give this to his Ole Miss brother-in-law for Christmas just to get the reaction. I expect all that to be videoed and filmed and then distributed on social media for all to see. But I've worked very hard on the book, and it's not some 80,000-word message board post where I'm taking a hatchet to Ole Miss. It's as objective as a State guy can be about Ole Miss. But I think that if you like college football and you want to kind of see what happens when boosters get too close, this is a cautionary tale that everybody that loves college athletics should read.
All right, that is Steve Robertson. Steve, you are a friend of the show, a friend of mine. I look forward to seeing you in Jacksonville. I appreciate you stopping by the show.
Always. Take care, Brandon.
All right, that's Steve Robertson. Thank you, Steve. Moving on. So Tennessee and Mississippi State just hired football coaches, and that's fine. But a couple of weeks ago, I was on this show, and we do this on video. You see it. I'm right here. Hey, how are you doing? But I took a 2-minute clip of me saying why I thought Dan Mullen would never go to Tennessee, which ended up being correct. He went to Florida. I was kind of wrong, kind of right. But I didn't think he would go to Tennessee because I just didn't think the Tennessee job held as much esteem in 2017 as Tennessee fans are convinced that it does. And they were wrong. They were embarrassingly wrong. They were shockingly wrong. Tennessee fans think it's 1996 and they can go out and hire whoever they want, and they can't. And they just embarrass themselves on a national scale by trying to hire John Gruden, Mike Gundy, Bill Parcells, Will Smith, Uncle Phil, Carlton Banks, whoever was out there. Terp got an offer, I think. Whoever was out there got an offer and said no. Because Tennessee, nobody wants to coach Tennessee in 2017. There's no talent in that state. There's no talent on that team. The fan base is crazy. The fan base has these wild expectations that are not connected to reality at all. So when I said Dan Mullen's not going to Tennessee, I was right. And nobody else was going to Tennessee either. Nobody. I don't know how to say LOL Tennessee. Do I say laugh out loud Tennessee? What do I say? I don't know. But I got 160,000 views on that from Tennessee fans. And they came at my Twitter, they came at my Facebook saying I was stupid, saying Mississippi State's never going to be on the level of Tennessee. Tennessee's going to hire who they want. If we want Dan Mullen, we'll go get him. No. What a colossal cluster this coaching search was. Now, it ended today. Tennessee hired Jeremy Pruitt. Listen, I like Jeremy Pruitt. I think Jeremy Pruitt could be a good hire. I'm on record as when Mississippi State was searching for a coach, I said, hey, I think Jeremy Pruitt should be the guy. That's what I said. So there's nothing wrong with Jeremy Pruitt. There's nothing wrong with hiring Jeremy Pruitt. But you can't aim at John Gruden. You can't aim at Mike Gundy. You can't declare your job to be a top 10 job when it's not, or a top 20 job when it's not, or a top 5 job in the SEC when it's not, and then hire Jeremy Pruitt. You can't jump out and beat your chest at how great you are if you have a 35-pound chest. You just can't do it. And that's what Tennessee has. Tennessee is the weakling at the gym that lifts weights by lifting the bar while going up to everybody else who's lifting 200 or 300 pounds and saying, I'm stronger than you. No, you're not. You're weak. That's what Tennessee is. Accept it. This whole process has proven there is no difference in the Tennessee and Mississippi State jobs in 2017. If Mississippi State wanted Jeremy Pruitt to be their coach, he'd be their coach. Mississippi State interviewed Jeremy Pruitt. They interviewed Joe Moorhead. They chose Joe Moorhead. This is not a knock against Jeremy Pruitt. But Tennessee had to go all the way down the list. They started on the top shelf and ended up getting something out of the clearance bin. And for what? Because they think it's 1996? They think Phil Fulmer is walking through that door? Yeah, he is as the athletic director. He has no idea what he's doing. The whole process has shown there is no difference between Mississippi State and Tennessee in 2017. I know that hurts Tennessee fans, but it's the truth. We just saw it. Tennessee football is not what you think it is. It's what everybody else thinks it is. Welcome to 2017. Today's top 5. Today's top 5 is the top 5 basketball wins of my lifetime, men's basketball at Mississippi State. And I do have to say men's basketball, because if I just said basketball, then Morgan William over UConn is probably number 1. Well, I'm keeping that out. Top 5 men's basketball wins of my life. Now, this was a very, very hard list to put together. It was not easy at all. There are a lot more on this list than you would think. There are plenty of games that are not on this list. Beating the hell out of defending national championship champion Arkansas in 95, beating Florida by 23 in 1995, an eventual Final Four or defending Final Four team. Beating Kentucky several times, not on the list. Beating Kentucky in the SEC tournament on a buzzer beater, not on the list. What is on the list? Number 5, 1991, last game of the regular season, Mississippi State 76, LSU 73, gives Mississippi State its first conference title in 28 years. State beats LSU. Shaquille O'Neal did not play that day. Gert Hammock played, if you remember who that is. God bless you. Mississippi State wins the SEC in 1991, the last day of the regular season, by beating LSU at home. That is number 5. Number 4, 1996, SEC Tournament Championship game, Mississippi State against Kentucky. I think 84-73 was the final. But State comes out and really starts the run. Really starts the run to the Final Four. Starts it in earnest. Now, we knew we were a good team. We hadn't really put it together yet. Kind of struggled in January, but got it going by March. We walk into New Orleans and beat the piss out of eventual national champion Kentucky. And if we got a second chance at them, we could have beat them again, but we didn't. But beat the crap out of national champion Kentucky in the SEC Tournament Championship game, number 4. That's in 1996. Number 3, 1996 again. The win over UConn. 60-55 in the Sweet 16. Ray Allen's final game at UConn. That was a good team. That was a number 1 seed. And again, Mississippi State took control early and just never relented. Led the whole game. That broke through to the Elite 8, which would lead to, well, one of the next two. Number 2, though, 2004, Mississippi State against Alabama. Down 16 points with 8 minutes left. State comes all the way back. Wins 82-81, I believe, on Timmy Bowers, who forced overtime with 5 points in 25 seconds, and who then won the game with a leading shot on the baseline in 2004 to win the SEC outright. Went 25-2, got a number 2 seed. It didn't end very well, but that was an incredible season, an incredible game. Mississippi State wins that game. Number 1, 1996 again, Mississippi State against Cincinnati in the Elite 8. Cincinnati was the number 2 seed in the Southeast region. It was in Rupp Arena. I think the final was either 73-63, something like that. I think we beat them by about 10. State wins that game, dominates from the start, goes to the Final Four, remains the only Final Four in school history. An incredible day, an incredible moment, an incredible memory. I'll never forget it. I was 17 years old. One of my probably my favorite memory as a Mississippi State fan, to be honest. Probably my very favorite memory, going to that Final Four in 1996. That's my top 5. You might have a different top 5. Go ahead and give it to me at @bwalker_SEC. We can share top 5s together. You can always give me a top 5 idea. Now, on the podcast, I'll drop you off here. Thank you for being here. We'll be back Monday for Facebook Live. Here I come. We'll talk for about 10 more minutes. My name is Brandon Walker. You've been listening to More Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast presented by SEC Country. All right. Hey, everybody.
Hey.
What you got? Not you. I wasn't talking to you. Well,
hey.
okay,
Hey.
All right. What do you guys want to talk about? You want to talk about pizza? You want to talk about?
Yeah.
You want to talk about your favorite Southern food in the state of Mississippi? What's your favorite Southern food restaurant? What's your favorite meat and 3? You know what a meat and 3 is, don't you, Terp? You know what a meat and 3 or a meat and 2? You don't know what that is?
Nope.
It's where you go to a restaurant and get a meat and 2 vegetables, a meat and 3 vegetables, something like that.
Never heard of that.
Call it a plate lunch back at home.
Okay.
Do you call it a plate lunch where you're from? Do you know what a plate lunch is?
No. Lunch?
These people around here don't know what a plate lunch is.
I'm assuming it's lunch that's on a plate. Am I wrong?
I swear, Terp. Sometimes it's not lunch. It's on a plate. Every lunch is on a plate.
That's not true.
A plate lunch is something different.
What is it?
It's a meat and two, a meat and three, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Cafe on Main, Columbus, Mississippi. Crystal White says fire him. Somebody asked for my thoughts on Tennessee getting Pruitt. I understand you probably just got here. I did like 7 minutes on that. Landshark said that Pruitt turned State's head coach offer down. I don't think that's true, Landshark. That's not what we're doing on this show. We're not saying that. No. State passed over Pruitt. That's what happened. We play a D2 school in basketball. Do those count towards our win-loss record? They count towards a win-loss record, sure. Yeah. They might not count in RPI or anything, but they count. How far above the Mason-Dixon line does Terp live? That's the thing about Terp. Like, he doesn't know what a plate lunch is, but he went to Maryland, but he's not from Maryland. He's from Atlanta.
Yeah.
You grew up in Atlanta, right?
Yeah.
You should know what a meat and two or a meat and three is.
I'm not. Don't know what that is.
Landshark, you know what I'm talking about. You're from Atlanta too, right?
I just ate breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Just not a plate lunch or whatever that is.
You know what a plate lunch is? Okay. You never gone down to the Kroger and got you a plate lunch?
Never. Nope.
No. You haven't lived then.
I guess not.
You have not lived. You haven't lived until you gone down to the Jitney Jungle and got you some chicken and dumplings and a couple of vegetables. That's how I'm living. Jitney Jungle. What happened to those? Everybody remember Jitney Jungle? Why did I bring that up?
What is that?
It's a grocery store.
What is it called?
Don't worry about it. There's a place in Verona called Home Cooking. I've seen that place. I've heard of that. Best pork chops, best ribs, fried. Wow. This is great. I love this. Everybody's giving me restaurants. If you've ever ordered food from a gas station or supermarket, you ever done that? You ever had gas station chicken?
Yes, actually.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Fast Lane has great plate lunches, really good fish. That's in West Point. No, it's not Fast Lane. It's Fast Break. That's what you're talking about, Junior. Not Fast Lane. Fast Break. Val's in Stark Vegas. Ramey plate lunches are the best. Jitney Jungle was acquired by Winn-Dixie. I had no idea, Derek Whitford. Thank you. Did you Google that? What was that?
I turned up the phone instead of my mic. I was going to say I know what Winn-Dixie is, though. That give me some points?
Shut up. Stop. The Blue and White in Tunica. Never been there. Mama Hamels in Madison. Say, now we're getting somewhere. This is why we do this. Not to talk about sports, talk about food. Who cares about sports? Potato wedges and fried chicken. Jitney Jungle declared bankruptcy in the 90s. Sorry. Como Steakhouse in Como. Obie's in Starkville. And we're talking more like Southern food. Like, Obie's is good, don't get me wrong, but do they really have like a plate lunch? You know, you go in and get you some smothered pork chops with potatoes with gravy on top, and some fried okra, some macaroni and cheese. You guys know what I'm talking about. We really got to stop recording this show at lunch. We got to record at a different time because
I'm very hungry now.
I'm very hungry. You know, I get to go to the big building today.
I'm going to the big building too.
Are you really? You coming to the meeting?
Yeah, I'm not going to the meeting. I'm going for lunch.
You're just going to lunch?
I have work to do during the meeting.
Don's Drive-In in West Point. Yes, I played that baseball game. I sure did. Blue 22, Donald Lee's restaurant in Starkville. Does he have a restaurant in Starkville? I always thought he owned one of those Beef O'Brady's. I don't know if it's still there. I knew he owned that. Donald Lee from Phoebe, Mississippi. Mama Hamels. Nothing like Barn Hills, says David Carter. Mr. Jiffy in Charleston, Mississippi. I've never been to Charleston, Mississippi in my life. It's in the Delta, I think. I need to go to all these places. And let's not forget Miss K's home plate in beautiful Liberty, Mississippi. Let's not forget that at all. Blue 22 just opened. So go to Blue 22. Donald Lee's a great bulldog. Is it out there in the same place? Is it in the same building where that Beef O'Brady's was? Somebody says talk football. Hey, we already did that. Cappy's in Starkville used to have a good plate lunch. They still got that, ? Bullies in Jackson, says Sinbad. Sinbad checking in from Byram, Mississippi. Veranda has a good plate lunch, says Chris Face Alexander. I agree. They do. They do have a good one. Has it been announced that Chavis is staying at A&M? I don't think Chavis is on Mississippi State's radar. I don't think John Chavis is on Mississippi State's radar at all. So take it for what it's worth. I've heard a couple names, not any that I'm comfortable saying. I think State will hire a defensive coordinator very soon. We'll probably all be surprised together. Miss Audrey's in Gulfport. Let's get back to the important stuff. And plus, John Chavis has been at A&M for, 3 or 4 years? Hasn't had a good defense yet with 5-star talent. I don't think I'd want him. I don't think I'd want him at all. Starks in Hazelhurst has the best hamburger steak plate lunch. Starks in Hazelhurst. Has Terp ever had cornbread and milk in a glass? Well, Terp,
Wait, what?
you ever had cornbread and milk?
I've had cornbread and I've.
You take milk. You take cornbread, you crumble it up, put it in the glass.
Oh no, what is that? Put it in the milk?
Yeah.
No, never done that.
Do you eat cornbread and soup together?
I don't eat cornbread.
You don't eat cornbread at all.
No. I'm not against that. I just never have.
Do you eat biscuits?
Not really those either.
So you eat rolls.
Well, I eat roll at dinner sometimes, I guess. More than biscuits or cornbread. I don't eat those things.
Landshark, do you know how to do the podcasting stuff? Would you like to get promoted? We might have to give Landshark the mic. One day we are going to have Landshark have the mic instead of you.
We can both have.
I don't want both of y'all to have mics. I'll lose control. I've already lost control. And we were talking about Jitney Jungle and food out here, for God's sake.
Very true.
My grandma used to do cornbread and coffee together. That doesn't know. What? Cornbread and coffee? Okay. I'm not going to hate on your grandmother now. I mean, if that's what she had. Stagger Inn in Starkville got a decent plate lunch. I don't know why we talk about Terp. Why we talk to you about food, because you've clearly proven over and over that you have no idea what good food is.
I know what good food is.
You don't eat cookies. You don't eat sweets.
No.
And you don't eat cornbread. You don't eat biscuits. You don't
I'm not.
What do you eat, boy?
I just don't. It's not on my daily foods.
Cornbread is good with everything, says Sinbad. What do you eat? Like hamburgers, chicken nuggets? Is that what you eat?
I like.
What did you eat last night for dinner?
Last night for dinner, I ate a steak.
You made a steak?
Yeah.
Okay, how'd you make it?
I had it. There's a grill on the roof of my apartment.
There's a grill on the roof of your apartment. You had it medium rare?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. What'd you put on the steak? What's
salt and pepper?
Just salt and pepper. Okay, and no sauce, no anything, right? Okay.
There you go. Yeah.
That works. That works.
Uh-huh.
I just do salt and pepper and a little Worcestershire. That's all. You don't need much on a steak.
Not at all.
Okay. All right. Top 5 things Terp should eat.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Terp is still eating mac and cheese and ramen noodles.
I eat ramen noodles sometimes, but I don't like it.
Terp eats kids' meals. Timmy White's Barbecue in Point City. I don't think that's a real place. Oh, good. Good question. Burnell McGee says, what is Landshark's favorite plate lunch? Just relay it for us. So, perfect plate lunch.
Middleman.
Perfect plate lunch. What would you have, Landshark?
Potato salad.
Potato salad. Okay.
Cornbread with jalapenos.
Mexican cornbread. All right.
And country fried steak.
Country fried steak with brown gravy or white gravy?
White.
All right. Now we're talking. Although you're a vegetable too short. And potato salad, there's many uses for potatoes in this world. Potato salad's fine, but I'd have to get to number 12 or 13 as far as potato uses before I got to salad. I came in late today. Any news on Brownlee? No, Tim White. So I think Mississippi State visited West Point yesterday. They visited Murphy. They visited Jason Brownlee, the receiver. No offer yet. It is very possibly coming, though. No offer coming. Does Terp like chicken on a stick?
I probably would. I've never had it, but I don't know why I wouldn't.
I bet you like chicken on a stick. Yeah. All right. This was very, very. Somebody says Landshark can stay. All right. The people like you, Landshark. I don't know why, but they do. All right. That's a good place to finish. We had a very productive talk today. Steve Robertson was great. We had good football talk. We had good food talk. Is Terp a real person? Sometimes I wonder, Michael Kleiman.
I am, in fact, real.
Sometimes I wonder.
I'm here.
He names his car. What's hold on. The name of my car is Gertie. She's fine. What's the name of your car again?
Exhibit.
Good God.
Yep.
All right. You've been watching more Cowbell with Brandon Walker, Landshark, and unfortunately Terp. And we'll be back on Monday. I appreciate you being here. Again, you've been watching more Cowbell, the Mississippi State podcast on SEC Country.